I'm going to build myself a computer, and I got a bunch of components. Let's see how it goes. Now, if you're interested in exact part numbers, just check under this video. Before I begin, I wanted to give you a few comments on this build. First of all, you might ask why this specific motherboard over here. So, interestingly, it's a Mini-ITX motherboard, and the case that I got there is a micro ATX case. So it fits a bigger motherboard than what I got here. But this is the only motherboard that actually fits in this case and at the same time has a decent VRM. And VRM is important in this specific case because I'm using this Core i9-9900K CPU, which does require you to have a beefy VRM, especially if you plan to overclock it. And I'm gonna post a bunch of links down below. If you're interested to learn more about VRMs on different Z390 motherboards, just check the links under the video. Another reason for the micro ATX case for this build is because for this monstrosity over here, I need 3 PCI Express slots. And most Mini-ITX cases can only handle 2 slot graphics cards. Another reason for this micro ATX case, which is over there, is because this beast is going to be producing almost 600 watts of heat under peak load, and I will have to have some efficient air cooling, and this case has a bunch of places for extra fans, and in this case it will be important. I want this thing to be very quiet, and at the same time I really don't like messing with liquid cooling, so I want it to be as efficient as possible and still stick with air cooling. And then let's go back to the memory sticks, which are over here. There's nothing unusual about them. This is basically what Amazon had in stock, and I'm not too concerned about the speeds, but because basically I'm not gonna overclock anything. All right, it took me a while to get the CPU out of that stupid box, but I guess that's just the way it is now. Anyway, so I got all of this stuff from the motherboard box. I guess all of this is pretty much useless. We'll throw that aside. Okay, this we will need. This looks like a screw for your M.2 hard drive, which we're not going to be using. SATA cables, another screw for another drive, I suppose. Wi-Fi antenna by the looks of it. Okay. So there we go. It should be pretty straightforward. Make sure you keep this just in case you need to return your motherboard, because if you send this back to the manufacturer, if you send the motherboard to the manufacturer back without this lid, they'll refuse your warranty service. There we go. Now I'll have to unpack the fan and I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back, and this monstrosity, like, it kind of looks, it might be even bigger than this motherboard. I mean, this worries me a little bit. So let's hope that this thing will actually fit. Okay. Wowzer. Okay, we'll have to figure this out. Oh, okay, so it's not like huge, it's just enormous. Second fan. Okay. That's out of the way. Holy crap, this is... Alright, I'll pause for a sec. Okay, so I finally got this beast out of the box, and this fan looks absolutely insane. Like, this is ridiculous. And I guess my job now is to kind of, strap this additional fan onto this thing somehow. And it kind of, yeah, well, it's just big. It's just huge. Like, I can't, yeah. All right, it'll take me some time to figure this out, and I'll be back momentarily. So I finally put this monstrosity together. And yeah, it almost looks bigger than this motherboard. This is ridiculous. But one thing that I've noticed, if I put this fan at the same level as this one, then it will cover the ATX power header over here, which would suck. So I guess what I did is I just strapped it onto this thing with a little bit of an offset, so there will be a little bit of clearance between the fan and the cable. Interestingly enough, it does not hit the memory modules in any way, shape, or form, so that part is good. It's just this cable over here. It's gonna hit the bottom of the fan if you don't move it upwards a little bit. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with all this stuff. I guess there's a bunch of instructions here, so I guess I'll have to go through that. And then just as soon as I figure out how to put this damn thing together, I'll be right back. We can move on. So we need this thing, and we need two of these things. We do not need that. I think it's for AMD. And we need this, that, and a bunch of other stuff. Oh yeah, here it is. These things over here. Okay, let's see what happens when we put this all together. Okay. All right, how do we do this? Oh yeah, just, I guess, does it go the other way? The answer is no, it does not go the other way around, so you should be safe there. Does it go this way? Oh, wait a minute, it does. So I see this cutout here, so I guess that is supposed to match with this screw over here, because yeah, this does not look right. But yeah, just keep in mind that it can go the wrong way. So yeah. Okay, so this is, I'm pretty confident this is the way this should go. Okay, next step. Well, I just found out that my phone died because of the overheating. My camera app said phone overheated, so I'll stop recording. So a bunch of the stuff that I recorded is gone, but you didn't really miss much. My biggest general point is just follow the damn manual. There is no rocket science here. Yeah, I guess follow it to the letter. Now we will have to take out one of these fans, the middle one specifically, because otherwise there is no access to these screws over here, which we need in order to put this thing on top of the CPU and fasten these screws. Okay, so now I have to apply some paste, which was in the box. That should be enough. All right. Okay, let's see. Which way is this supposed to be facing, I wonder? Okay, that will take me, I guess, a minute to figure out. I'll be back. So here's an interesting issue. As you can see here, make sure the curved sides of the mounting bars are pointing outwards. So I was following this specific picture, and as you can see, so these bars are vertical and this thing matches this thing over here. Now, this doesn't seem to be correct, because when you're installing this thing on top of it, so these two screws, this one and that one, they match this one and that one. And like, if that means you have to put this fan sideways, which makes no sense, because here's your graphics card here, and then over there, like, it's gonna just stick out too much. So basically that means if you're using this specific motherboard, then this is gonna be quite misleading to you. So you'll have to switch these around. Let's do that. There we go. Okay. Okay. Actually get on the screw. Okay. This is quite tricky. Just look at this thing. This is completely ridiculous. And that's the way it looks. Yeah, so it's quite literally like almost the size of the motherboard. And here's the case. I guess I'll have to take out these two stock fans, so 1 and 2. I'll have to take out the top part of the case because it opens. So this thing pops up. Ooh, that's gone. And then there is a magnetic kind of mesh thingy here that you could plop on top of that. And it's not going anywhere. It's pretty cool. And then I'll add 2 more fans over here and another fan somewhere front. And another thing that I've noticed in this case, so there is a 3.5 inch hard drive bay over here, and I guess I'll have to take this out because once I put my power supply in here, there will be very little room over here for cable management. So I'll have to get rid of this, and I'm not using any 3.5 inch hard drives anyway, so I'm not worried about that too much. Out it goes. pretty cool. Okay, so I just ran into an issue, and the issue is, so I was ready to put this motherboard inside the case, and I just realized, so this motherboard has 4 holes over here, 1, 2, and then 2 on the other side for screws, and you can access this one, you can access this one, you can access this one if you take this fan off, but you cannot access this one. Well, you can kind of access it, but see, the fan is kind of getting in the way. So I guess one way for me to do this is to just kind of put my screwdriver like that at an angle, which like I don't necessarily like this idea, but I guess that's the way that I will actually go. But for you, if you use the same components as I do, and regardless actually, so if you use any Mini-ITX motherboard, then my advice would be to install the fan, the actual heatsink, after you put the motherboard inside the case. This way you don't have to mess with these screws in any way. And I have just ran into another issue, and this time it's... So basically, this motherboard goes like that, and you can already see that this fan over here does not let this heatsink to go where it should be. So this means that I'll have to take those 2 top fans out of this case. Alright, time to check out the power supply. Okay. There we go. Looks decent. So I ended up taking this fan off for now because I couldn't find any way to actually plug in all of these little connectors without taking this off. So now, since this fan is off of the heatsink, I'm gonna plug in our ATX cable. Yeah, this is gonna be quite tight in there, but it should work. Okay guys, major fail. So now we have to plug in the 12 volt power supply rail, which is here, which is right under this heatsink. Like, there's absolutely no way I'm reaching that. Like, there's literally no way. So that means now I have to take the motherboard out just to plug in this goddamn cable. Okay, about half an hour later, I finally managed to cram this cable in. And literally, I'm literally sweating right now. Like I had to take this whole thing apart in order to just plug in this CPU 12-volt cable. So if you ever want to use this fan with this motherboard, or I would say any Mini-ITX motherboard, make sure you install these two cables. You plug them into the motherboard before you even mount it inside the case. That will save you literally at least 1 hour of time. Now finally, power supply goes in. Now I orient the power supply so that its fan is on the bottom, so it will suck in the fresh air from underneath the case and not hot air from the upper side of the case. Okay, the last step of this process is the GPU. What is this? It's like some sort of a sticker. Okay, and this is DVI to HDMI, or yeah, HDMI to DVI adapter by the looks of it. Well, let's just remove it, I guess. This feels so odd. 3 slots for a graphics card. Oh wow, okay. It's heavy, that's for sure. There you go. Oh wait, oops, I forgot to take out the plastic thingy. Give it back. Hold on a sec. Now, one thing I've seen many people do is put a bracket of some sort to kind of hold this card in place because it's heavy. Now, looking at this, I'm not convinced that that's necessary. I mean, this is very sturdy, like I can barely move it, and like it's not gonna go anywhere, so I don't think that you should be worried about it at all. That's quite a mess. So here's my final build. I think that will be it for today. My hard drives, my SSDs are still in transit, so they will arrive in a few days. And in the meantime, I'll go power this thing up and see if it works. Yay, so we're all good to go, and this thing it's super quiet. I just need to add a bunch of drives to it